you've been in the business for 13, almost 14 years.
Yeah.
If you were to go and talk to someone who's like a younger real estate agent today, what kind of advice would you give them? Like, what would you say, like, these are your first steps, this is what you need to do?
Well, you know.
Or I guess what would you have done differently?
What would I have done differently? I would have worked extremely hard at the beginning, and once I got success, doubled down on how hard I was working. So when I came out of the gate, you know, I didn't write a deal for the first 6 months, but after that, I was on fire. And this was like in the middle of everybody saying real estate's tanking. So my first calendar year in the business was actually really good. I sold about $3 million my first full calendar year, which is really good for a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I kind of got cocky. You know, I kind of got like, you know, hey, I got this covered. Like, this is going to be easy. And 09 and 10, you know, some of my attention diverted to something that was a little bit fun. And like, I wasn't working as hard in the real estate thing because I just thought I had it handled, you know. And I missed the opportunity because I was 27 years old. I could have been working really hard to establish, and just like at this point could have been much further along than I am even right now if I would have worked harder. So like, and then there's some things that really give you notoriety being under 30 years old in this business, because that's a rare thing that someone under 30 years old is actually a salesperson in the real estate business. So if you could take advantage of all the things, like, you know, 30 under 30, if you're under 30 years old and you can develop a good business, you should submit your application for the 30 under 30, you know, and that just blows your awareness up. And like when the National Association of Realtors is pushing you and helping you brand, the amount of referrals that'll come your way no matter what markets that you're in, you know, the subscriber count on your YouTube channel, the followers on Instagram, like your whole social media, you'll become more relevant. Mm-hmm. You know, so becoming more relevant on the national scale or the national stage would be something that I would do different. Is I would be more aware of those accolades and those opportunities to get your name out there and be more recognizable. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do.
So like the sooner you start, the easier it's going to be, like once you're like maybe in your 30s.
Right. So if I would have done the right things, I would have been established at 32 years old, and I wouldn't have had to wait until I was 36 years old to be actually an established name, where when you think real estate in the New River Valley, I'm likely to be in the front of your mind when it comes to that, just because of the blanket social media that we have and as many signs as we have in this community. You know, the little signs that we have in front of the homes, it's undeniable our presence. Like people, if you're not seeing the signs that we put up, just aren't really paying attention. You know?
So do you think like 30 years old is like a mark that you look at where it gets a little harder to get bigger after that? Or is that like... No,
I think if you could get into this business at 45 years old, if you have the right strategies and understanding of how this works. Mm-hmm. If you're a true salesperson, you can come into this business and really do well if you are a good salesperson. Mm-hmm. If you lack sales skill, you know, this is a sales job. You might have the name realtor, but bottom line, you're a salesperson. So if you don't understand strategies and tactics around sales, you are going to struggle. Mm. If you don't have somebody or a great understanding about advertising or marketing, you're going to struggle. If you don't understand that you need to develop your personal brand for this business, then you're going to struggle, you know? And, you know, you may be old school and you might not do any of that stuff, but if you're doing old school tactics right now, you're vulnerable. I don't care if you're the number one agent in your market, you're vulnerable. Your number one spot's you're in jeopardy of losing that number one spot if you're not doing these things.
So do you think it'd be more beneficial for an agent to start maybe like in like their early 20s, so that way they can work out all the kinks?
If you're a salesperson, this is a very lucrative thing currently. You know, like this is something that will you will be able to create a nice life in this business if you understand sales. Mm-hmm. And if you can do it, the younger you can start, the better it's going to be. The younger you can start, and that's with everything. I mean, that's with everything.
Yeah.
So sports, like anything that you do, and you start sooner than later, you're going to be way better at it long term. So
That makes sense. So like going back to like, I guess those key attributes of like what you see in yourself where you're like, I could be really good at real estate. So you would need to be like really good at sales then.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so how does someone get better at sales?
Well,
How do you practice that before you go into real estate? Or do you just jump in and then like figure it out as you go and try to become...
You train. There's, you know, in anything, there's training. So there's, you know, books to be read. There's audio to be heard. There's conferences to kind of go to. You know, there's a whole probably billion-dollar industry around sales training. So like that's a big business. So
who would you recommend them going to listen to first to like get better at sales? Like, for this?
Who influenced me first was Grant Cardone. And, you know, I've mixed him in with like Gary Vee and, you know, there's a lot of people out there that you can learn from sales-wise. But those are two that just pop out, you know, right off the top of the head. So, you know, Sell or Be Sold, you know, helped mold me to the salesperson I am. You know, I read that. I got that on audio, you know, about the time I came to Remax. You know, and you know, there's some smaller influencers in sales. You know, like me prospecting to expired listings. I was motivated from a guy named Colton Lindsay off of like going after and strategies around expired listings. So there's tons, like pretty much what I did in 2009, 2010 was like, what am I doing? Why am I not all the way in on real estate? And now it's time to start sharpening my sales skill. Okay. So what I did is I went to YouTube. I said, how to sell real estate, you know, strategies around selling homes. Like, and it just started popping up people. That's really how I found Tom Ferry too, you know, because I would watch one video and he's doing such great SEO on his videos that he would start being popped up as recommended. So like I was shot over to Tom through, you know, Colton and like a couple other people that I found, but Tom's message resonated to me and his marketing strategy got me.
Wow.
So,
okay.
yeah.
So this was like back in what, like 2009 when you found him on YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's like pretty interesting because YouTube has been around, I want to say for like, to be like conservative on it, like 14 years?
Well, yeah.
Like
so
a little longer than that?
06
Okay.
is when they launched.
Yeah. Wow. So he was like almost a pioneer for like sales knowledge on YouTube.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, listening to someone about sales, I like to listen to Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I watched a video of him once where he was like sitting down with some paid actors and they were told under no circumstances are you allowed to accept the deal. And so I was like watching the video and then he closed the deal at the end. And by the end of it, I was like, what just happened? Because I was convinced that I should do the deal. So it was very interesting listening. I like listening to him talk about sales and stuff, even though his background is super shady.
Yeah.
Now he's like a super straight arrow. He's got like a podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, selling, basically banking off of that movie.
I mean, the movie, yeah, of course. He's gonna use Leonardo's face to sell programs and courses and things like that, which is great. He's got good knowledge. But, you know, he was, you know, a very nefarious character for a long time.
Yeah.
But I love that movie. I idolize that movie. You know, Matthew McConaughey's role in the movie, you know, beating his chest, you know, and everything. Like, it was like there's moments in that movie that are very inspiring for salespeople. You know, like rallying the troops. You know, like every time he'd get out there and like get on the mic. You know, I definitely enjoyed that movie. And those movies, you know, there's all kinds of sales movies out there too. So, so yeah. I mean, I've just dove into all the sales media out there available and let the good stuff wash in and just discard the stuff that wasn't for me.
Gotcha.
Pretty much.
I gotcha.
Yeah.